Okay, far away.
How you feeling? We saw the incident the other day, but it looked like you're back today.
Yeah, I'm doing much better today. Thanks for asking. Appreciate that.
Was that scary at all when it happened?
It was definitely.
Doug, Michael Bennett obviously sitting during the
You would ask this question.
anthem. What were your thoughts on that?
Um, well, first and foremost, I know that Mike, his decision comes from a good place. I know Mike obviously as a teammate, as a person, and I know his heart. And it comes from a good place. And I thought he did an excellent job of kind of prefacing it, in his response after the game. And I was really proud of it. And I think that we as a society should be proud. I think we take for granted the fact that in our country we have freedom of speech. And I think that we should be proud of individuals who feel strongly about certain topics and certain situations that are happening in our country and are willing to put themselves out and be vulnerable about it. And Mike's done that. Um, and to further his point, it's there's things going on in our communities that people don't agree with. And who am I or who are we to tell individuals that are in these communities that their opinions, their thoughts are wrong? And so um, I firmly believe that the purpose, the thought behind everything is to better our society. It's not to be divisive. It's not to be negative. And I fully support Mike and his message and his thoughts, and definitely the way he went about it.
Have you personally thought about joining him?
Absolutely. We're gonna have a conversation here shortly, and again, we do things we try to do things as a team, as a family, and we'll see how we can support Mike in this situation.
Of all the things athletes can do, why that? Because what it represents to a lot of people in this country is that maybe counterproductive and losing the message.
If you want to take it that way, you know, um, it's freedom of speech again, and there's a lot more I want to say about it, but I won't use this platform in this moment to say it because I've been advised not to, and out of respect for this organization, I'll do that. Um, However, I think it's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. You know, if your feelings are hurt about a particular situation, then maybe you should ask yourself, okay, why are my feelings being hurt about this? Why is it so important for somebody who, you know, seems to be an intelligent human being? Why is it so important for them to get this message across? Why is it so important for them to do it in this fashion, in the particular moment in which they do it? Why is it so important? I think all of us can ask ourselves those questions, and maybe we'll be smarter human people, human beings, smarter people, a smarter society if we do that.
You went through this last year trying to decide how the team's going to go against Miami. What's the team unity factor here with having one of your Pro Bowl stars sitting while 89 other guys are standing?
Um, I mean, there's no. If you're asking me if there's an issue with it in the locker room, there is none. Again, we operate as a family. And we support our guys in whatever they want to do, whatever endeavors they set out to accomplish and to achieve. And Mike has been always one of those leaders in our locker room. We trust him. And again, he's a highly, highly intelligent individual who didn't just make a decision off the cuff. This is a decision that I know, knowing Mike, that he's taken a lot of time and pride in making. And so, as a family within this organization, we fully support what he's done.
Did you talk to Marshawn at all? He obviously said on Saturday as well.
Yeah, talk to Marshawn.
I mean, is his reasoning the same as Michael's, or do you have any insight?
You're gonna have to ask Marshawn.
Is it
You know why I'm here.
is it working? Is the message, do you think, better now, more heard now than it was a year ago?
I definitely think that the conversation is definitely being had more frequently. Um, I think that I mean, just turn on the news. The conversation is being had all over the country, and it's turning into a situation where it doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter your heritage, doesn't matter your culture. Um, the overwhelming and most profound message is that we claim to have equality and liberty for all people, and that's some people feel that that's not the case, and so maybe we should listen to them. Maybe we should hear what their thoughts are, and see if we can't be better. If we think we're perfect, uh, the Romans thought they were perfect. So I just say that maybe we shouldn't think we're perfect, and there's always room for improvement.
Do you think there's any tangible progress beyond conversation? I mean, you were with the cops. Have you seen something concrete you can say, all right, all this conversations led to
I mean, just having the conversation is progress, and I think that's what the initial effort was to do, was to have this conversation, to bring it to the attention of the country that, hey, there are things going on in our society that aren't right, that people think that aren't right, and we need to have a conversation about it. And to me, that's progress within itself. And yes, you guys know we've talked to a number of different people, and I think that there are things going on that hopefully will start to get the ball rolling here soon. But just like anything else, it's going to take time.
You guys have had a bit of a legacy here now of guys who are doing outreach in the community, who are getting themselves educated on issues of a worldview beyond football, and then are applying it and willing to speak out about what they think is social injustice. How much of that do you think is maybe in the evaluation process of players, that there's something here that they want guys with that DNA? How much of it is that the culture is such that it brings it out of each other, and maybe some guys who didn't immediately lean that way in college now get here and are like, you know what, I am getting educated in this or that.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot to be said about the individuals that are already here. Like you got Richard Sherman, you got Michael Bennett. You got these guys who, again, are very intelligent human beings who can articulate the way that they feel. They have a high emotional IQ, or EQ, I guess you could say, and they're able to articulate the way they feel. And so when young guys come in and they want to express themselves, or they don't know how to express themselves, they can listen to Sherm, they can listen to Mike B, and they have an example, and then these guys actually ask them questions. And so yeah, I think it's you take into account the fact that John and Pete have done an excellent job of bringing in those types of guys, but then they've also cultivated this environment that allows guys to feel free, that allows them to be vulnerable. And you have guys that are willing to speak up because they know that this is a safe environment. Even if they are vulnerable, their teammates are gonna look at them poorly. We're not gonna judge them in a unsafe regard, and they're going to be supported by the organization. So I think definitely the culture that we have here definitely lends itself to players being more vocal.
How upset were you with the Vince and Charlotte trade?
I mean, how could you not be upset about it? It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I mean, I really don't even know what to say. It's a difficult situation to even just fathom, and especially still going on in our country today. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm also very upset about it.
So you said earlier you were advised not to, like, elaborate more. Advised by who?
Well, just in general, I think that in this particular moment, I don't want to take away from what Mike's doing. He's doing an excellent job of trying to get out a message, and I don't want to take away from that. So I want to give Mike the forefront and give him the opportunity to express himself fully before I make any comments based on that.
You said that you thought that this was a well thought out decision by Mike, but did anybody have any inkling that that was going to happen?
No, and I'm glad he didn't tell anybody, because I think it comes across as, if you know Mike, you know it was very methodical, and he took the time to evaluate himself. I mean, if you look at his response when you guys asked him after the game, obviously he took some time to make sure that he was gonna prepare this in the right light, and I'm not surprised at the way that he handled it, because he handled it in an excellent manner.
Doug, Pete said that he supports Mike's message, but thinks everyone should stand for the national anthem. Have you had conversations with him just about?
With Pete?
Yeah.
I haven't, not yet. We'll definitely have a conversation though.
Do you think everyone should stand for national anthem?
I think that everybody has their right to freedom of speech, right? That's what our country says, right?
I think we still
We do, right?
We
Yeah.
as far as I
Okay.
know, we still do, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, whether you agree with it or not, that's irrelevant. Individuals have a right to freedom of speech. So, I mean, we want to talk about somebody taking a stand for something that's important, taking a stand, taking a seat for something that they deem important, right? Inequality in our country, injustice in our country. We're sitting here having a conversation about whether or not it's important that a guy stands for the national anthem or sits when the topic is inequality or injustice. But yet I look in the stands in some of our games, both at home and away, and I see people who are drunk with their hats still on, yelling. How come you guys aren't talking to them? How come there's not a discussion about that? Right? This guy is taking a reasonable and peaceful approach to something that I mean, I don't know who doesn't think is valiantly important to our society and the health and wellness of our communities. But yet we're not talking about people who are in the stands drunk during the national anthem with their hats still on, yelling at players, cussing during the national anthem. We're not talking about that. So to me, this is, I mean, I know you guys are reporters and you got to make a story about something, but I just think we're just taking it too far.
Last year, though, it seemed like you guys, it was important for the team to do something together as a whole. The circumstances now mean that that's not that aspect of it isn't as important.
We're always having these conversations, you know. But again, we have some new guys in here, and we want to respect their opinions and their thoughts. And so again, we'll have these conversations and see what comes out of it.
I think part of the reason that we keep bringing it up is because this is a very controversial subject around the country. A lot of people there are put by this. I'm just curious if you think, are you worried about fallout at all in a situation like this? If people stop watching games or not going to
No. It's football. It's football. Like, you know, I appreciate the fans who come out here and they support us, but it's football. Right? We're not saving lives. You know, we're not police officers, we're not doctors, we're football players first and foremost. So I mean, if you want to stop watching the game because a guy, you know, feels strongly about a very serious topic that's going on in our society, well, then that's your choice. You have a right to freedom of speech, right? So, yeah, if you want to do that, all for it.
Is there another side that's looking at Michael and the players making a stand and saying these guys are being brave and making a stand?
Being brave?
Yeah, being brave and courageous. And we're talking about the negativity that comes from him standing there. Is there not another half of the equation that says he's really standing there and pointing out the injustices of society?
Absolutely, because you put a spotlight on yourself, and like Mike said at the end of the game, he made himself vulnerable. You know, now he's put himself out there, and I know what that's like, and sometimes it's a scary position to be in, and to me it is very brave, especially about a topic that he feels so deeply about, that I feel so deeply about. Injustice and equality. Whether you agree with it or not, that's irrelevant. You know, somebody believes something, and so I definitely think that the way that he's approached it was excellent, very methodical, but also very brave.
Doug, switching gears to talk about football. This wide receivers group is obviously very close. Your thoughts on Casey Williams' performance?
Extremely happy for Casey Williams and all his effort, all his work. He's worked tirelessly to come back from injuries, to get his opportunities, and he got to display that 2 days ago. You know, and I couldn't be happier for him just because the man he is. You know, he's had an uphill climb, and he's done it with grace. You know, and he's just been patient and waited for his opportunity, and I was so excited for him to be able to see him get his opportunity finally and do extremely well with it.
I know this is like a couple of weeks late, but Penny Easley obviously inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. You've gone up against some of the best defensive backs in your career. Your thoughts on that?
Well, congratulations again to Kenny Easley. I know the organization, we put together a tape and sent it to him just to congratulate him on that. Well earned and well deserved. But as far as the Hall of Fame goes, you know, if I probably shouldn't say this, but you know, Terrell Owens isn't in the Hall of Fame right now, and he's arguably top 5 receivers of all time, if not top 3. So he's not in the Hall of Fame. So I got to question the Hall of Fame a little bit. But again, Kenny Easley definitely deserved it. Should have been in it a lot sooner.
Casey's been around for a couple of years. You've seen anything different out of him this camp? Any way his approach or anything like that?
Yeah, he's been patient, which is not different, but just the way that he's approached every day. You know, I know sometimes you can get antsy. You can you can think too much about not getting opportunities or where you are on the depth chart. But Kasen's come out here and he's worked every day. It didn't matter how many reps he got, where he was on the depth chart. He just came out and worked, and I think it's paying off for him in a bright way.
He said he's a little lighter. Or he said he's kind of. He said he really took eating right and things like that to heart this offseason.
Yeah, some shameless self-promotion to the organization. We got a great nutritionist here, and she does an excellent job, and she's done an excellent job with Kasen and helping him, transform his diet so that he can be the best that he can be.
And you're on cereal boxes all over Seattle.
I am on cereal boxes. Shameless self-promotion. Go to your nearest Safeway, Doug Smacks. They're delicious. And the money goes to a good cause, too. So.
Where does the money go?
An organization called SYSA, Southern Youth Sports Association. It's the organization I grew up in when I was a kid. Basically, they take these kids and keep them off the streets, keep them out of trouble, really encourage them to do well in school, and help them to become better citizens in our society.
Doug, we always hear about how for those guys battling for roster spots, special teams is a big deal. How much in your position group is that when a new guy comes in? Is that a top?
That's the first thing he hears. If it's out of my mouth, Jermaine's mouth, that's the first thing he hears. You have to play special teams. Jermaine plays special teams. I play special teams. You have to play special teams. If you're going to be a receiver here, it's not necessarily that you technically have to play special teams, but that's our mentality, right? You got to play special teams. We want to see what type of mentality you have when you're not in the spotlight, when you don't get all the publicity. What kind of man are you going to be when you're not scoring touchdowns? Are you going to do the dirty work? And that's the type of players that we want in our locker room. That's the type of players we want in the receiver room. And so when they come in, they understand that right away.
How hard is it for these young receivers to show up to the spotlight on preseason game when they haven't had the time to maybe work with one quarterback or another?
It's difficult, but I will say that I think our organization does a great job of trying to help mentally prepare these guys for the games. Pete talks about it all the time, the steps that they need to take in order to get their mindsets right the night before the game, and also prior the couple hours before the game. And so we do an excellent job of that here. But yeah, it is very difficult to do, especially for young guys in camp. They're trying to make teams. They feel like the back's against the wall, and if they have one slip up, that their career is over. And that's a lot of mental pressure. But I think that we do a great job of telling guys just go out there, have fun, play football like they did when they were younger, and then everything will come to them. And so. And to further that point, we also talk about how, yes, it is difficult to make this roster, but you're not just putting film on for this team. You're putting on film for the 31 other teams and GMs who are looking for guys to fill out their roster as well.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys.